Everybody, welcome to lunchtime yoga. We're going to do Vinyasa today. We're going to start with a seated position. Now you can sit in any seated position that's going to work for you, whether it's cross-legged or if you want to sit on your heels, or you can have a butterfly or something like that. Take a nice deep breath. Let yourself kind of gather your tension and your focus. Maybe you've been working up till now and you've just taken a little moment. If you're like me, people outside have just stopped putting tree branches through a giant chopper in front of your house. So there's finally some silence. Just taking some deep breaths here. So you're going to let your chin drop forward so that you stay sitting upright, but your chin kind of hangs. And then we're going to just kind of lull the head up and over one shoulder and bring it on back. And then up and over the other side. If one side feels a little tighter than the other, you can slow down through the tight side. And just go back and forth about 3 more times. So when you get to the bottom, we're going to let the head kind of float back up. When you've got both sides even, you can do the shoulders. So we're going to go up and around and back with the shoulders. When you get to the bottom, go the other direction. Okay, so then you're going to let your shoulders kind of relax, and we'll do some wrist movements. So just doing some little circles with the wrists. Go the other direction. Oh my golly. Then you're going to lace your fingers together. We're going to do some little wave movements. Go the other way. Don't think about it too much. And you're just going to stop and give that wrist a little stretch back this way. You can include the thumb if that feels okay. I like to leave my thumb alone. And then let the wrist come the other direction. And then pull it back. And move it forward. And one more time. And then we're going to do the other side, kind of pulling that side back and forward. And give both your wrists a little shake out. Hopefully if you've been on your computer all day or so far this morning, that's feeling a little nicer. All right, so now let's do some work for our spine. So we're gonna come up to a all fours position and round through the spine, and then sway the back and kind of flatten out the upper back a little bit. So you're gonna round and curl that upper back into the roundest shape it'll go. And then see if you can kind of get those shoulders moving on that upper back a little flatter, a little change in shape there. One more time. All right. So we're going to do a little twist. So knees are, maybe a little wider than the hips, or just about hip distance. You can send the hips a little forward or a little bit backward. You take one arm, just thread it underneath the opposite side. And then, so if it feels better to have the weight a little more forward or a little more back, feel that out. Now this arm can go up and over the back, or you can use it to kind of help you hold the twist. You can extend out the opposite leg. So this is my right arm, so I would do the left leg and kind of extend that leg out to just shift the weight a little more onto the shoulder. And that's just a choice. Oh. Hello. One more breath here. And then we're going to release that arm. Give it a little rinse. And then pause for a moment and let your spine kind of readjust. Shake out anything that needs to be shaken out. And then we'll do the opposite side. So you're going to thread the opposite arm under, come down, feel out where the weight should shift. And again, you might straighten out the leg or not. And take one more big breath here. And then you're gonna sweep that arm out. And we'll give you a little bit of a rinse to the spine. Just to let it kind of readjust its fluids, whatever else. So as we come out of that twist, it kind of gives itself a little bit of movement. All right, so we're gonna tuck the toes and head into downward dog. And this might be your 12th downward dog of the day, or it could potentially be the first. And so you might need to take a few moments and walk in the dog. Move your shoulder blades around. I like to do that no matter how many dogs I've done. And then I'm going to kind of take my legs out wide and turn this back and forth into kind of more of a dog and more of a forward bend. Kind of walking it back and turning it into a bit of a squat. And then walk the weight back out onto my arms. Alrighty, so you're going to either walk your hands and your feet together, forward or backward. Since I'm already here, I'm going to keep going backward. And then just bring the legs in. Hanging upside down, give yourself a little shake of all the upper body bits. And then we'll come up about halfway. So your hands can stay on the floor, or they can be on your shins. They just want to kind of create that situation where it feels like your back sort of levels out. And then bend your knees and hang upside down, rinse out your neck. And then inhale up to that kind of flat backed position. And exhale and fold. And then this time we're going to come all the way to standing. So press down really, work on that back body there. Give yourself a nice big stretch. A little tug over each direction. And then a little shake out of everything. Okay. So then we're going to find ourselves in a mountain pose. So my toes are kind of pointing forward, which is unusual. They usually point out. So I've turned them in slightly so that I have a little bit of a sensation around my hips that feels unusual. And I've kind of rocked back and forth on my feet to kind of feel the weight shifting and try to find that spot where the weight shifts right into the center point, evenly distributed between the heel and the toes. And then let your shoulders relax, a little soft in the knee. So it feels like there's maybe a little, like a kangaroo tail hanging off your back end, kind of planted on the floor. And the shoulders can just let themselves fall down your back. And one more breath right there. And then we're going to take a nice big stretch. Now, if you can go out to the sides, that's awesome. If you're going to run into something, go a little tighter. Exhale, fold forward. Coming up halfway. Exhale, fold. Now we're going to do a traditional sun salutation. So I'm at the back of my mat, so I'm going to walk myself out to a plank. You might be stepping back into a plank, or a salutation A, I suppose is what we should call this. So coming out to a plank, and then you're going to lower down. Now you can modify the plank by putting your knees down and doing knees, chest, and shin, or you can lower down halfway and do chaturanga dandasana, coming into cobra or into upward dog, and then we'll go back to downward dog. Okay. And then you're either going to step forward or jump forward, come up halfway, exhale, fold, come all the way to standing. Again, kind of avoiding whatever situation is going on at your house. Returning to your mountain pose. Nice big breath. Arms extend, fold. Now I'm up near the top of my mat this time, so I'm going to be stepping back into plank. So depending on the place you are, we all just arrive in the same place. Lowering down, coming into your back bend, taking it back to dog. And then either stepping forward or hopping forward to find your way back halfway. Fold all the way to standing. Good. So we're going to do it twice more. Nice big inhale. Exhale, fold. Coming up. Fold. Step back. Oh, lowering down. Moving through the back bend and back into your dog. All right, so either jumping forward or stepping forward. Both feet. Oh, all the way up to standing. Oh, last one. Nice big breath. Fold. Halfway. Oh, and then we're going to take it back into that plank. And again, you'll modify or full through the back bend and back to down dog. Now this time we're going to pause there. All right, so we'll take the right leg up and give that leg a little curl in. Bring it back, sink into your heel, bring it in, curl in. One more time, stretch it back, sink into your heel, give your ankle joint a little love, and then step your foot forward. And again, you can step straight through the middle or kind of off at a diagonal and then bring your leg in. And we'll come up for warrior two. Ooh. I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that I have friends here with me on my mat. So coming back and forth. We'll do that one more time. Now we're going to straighten out the leg and come into triangle. And you can work your triangle out however it makes sense to do, right? Whether it's stretching out or folding forward and adjusting the hips and then rolling open. There's lots of ways to come into triangle. Just find your way. And I like to kind of explore, especially if I'm doing kind of a little break, like giving myself a couple of different movements, a little higher, a little lower, a little more arm, a little less arm is helpful. Now we're going to take this whole thing around to the front. So we're just going to walk it around and then turn the feet in so that now I'm ready for this wide angle forward bend. And let's see how far in I can go. Oh. Sometimes it feels like I can put my elbows on the ground. Sometimes I'm not invited to do that. Stand strong on your legs. See what that feels like. Do a little bit of a bend and then stand strong. Ooh. All right, so we're going to come up about halfway. We're going to throw a twist into this. So I like to use a block, but you don't have to have one because you can just press your hand down into the floor. And then we're going to rotate, and the hips might want to come with. See if you can do more of the rotation in your upper back and a little less with the hip. And then we're going to come out of there and rotate the other way. And again, my hips want to help. So I'm kind of reminding myself with this hand to hold my hips more steady. And then I can rotate and rotate. Oh, one more time. Rotate. Oh, and rotate. Okay. So then we're going to go back into downward dog. So we'll walk it back where we came from and step back. And then you can throw your vinyasa in here of whatever choice you'd like. If you want to skip a vinyasa, you can stay with downward dog. Oh. All right. I can definitely feel the difference between the side of my body I've done and the side I haven't done yet. Can you guys feel the difference? So let's do the other side. Left leg comes up. And then we curl it in. Bring it back, sink into that heel if you can. Curl it in. And then one more time, we're going to stretch back and sink in. And then step that foot forward. And again, you're going to work your way until you're warrior two. Making adjustments once you get here. And then coming on back and forward through your side angle stretch and reverse stretch. One more time. All right, so we're going to come into triangle. And again, you can come into triangle in a lot of different formats. I like to switch it up so it's not always the same. And again, once you're here, you can play with the pose a little bit. So you're just rinsing out, opening up muscle. That might be a little tight, or maybe hasn't been paid attention to yet this morning. All right, take one more big breath. And again, we're going to come around into this wide angle forward bend position. And this time when we fold forward, we're going to also kind of let ourselves lean slightly back. Now don't fall, yogis. But we're going to see if we can stretch the arms out in front and lean back into it. And again, you can bend your knees, especially if your hamstrings are tight, and then let yourself lean back, standing strong on the legs. And then you can get a little bit softer, and then lean back, standing strong on your legs. Oh, we're going to do it one more time. All right. Now the twist is going to be a little different, so I'm going to turn around so that you'll be able to see what I'm up to maybe a little bit easier with my back. Okay. And just staring at my legs. Okay, so here we are, right? And we're going to walk over to one side. Now I'm going to spin those toes. And then I might even use this block, but I'm going to see if I can put my elbow on the floor. Some people can put their elbow all the way down. For me, the block is better. And then I'm going to just kind of let myself twist a bit towards this side. All right, then you can take this arm up if you want to, but for me it just feels nice to put it right there on my thigh. Okay, then we're going to come out of that side, and we're not going to go right away into the other side, because we're going to give our spine a second to adjust. And then I'm going to turn these toes out on the other way. Again, some people will find that their elbow will go right onto the floor. If you're like me, that's ridiculous. You can use a block if you want to, or just have your hand rest there. That'll also work. And then we're twisting towards that leg. Maybe there's this little sway, or maybe this hand comes up a little bit. One more breath there. And then we're going to come out with the exhale, and we're going to take ourselves back to downward dog one more time. So from your downward dog, hang on just a moment. I have to make a minor adjustment. to downward dog. Now, if you want to throw in a vinyasa, you can. I'm just going to pause for a moment and feel. And then I'm going to take my right leg and bring it forward. Oh, so you can throw in your dog. Or, I mean, throw in your vinyasa and then join us here. And I'm going to bring this left knee to the ground, okay? So the left knee's coming down. And then I'm going to angle myself this way a little bit. And then I'm going to come up for this crescent lunge. So easing the hip forward and easing the hip back a couple times here. And then I'm going to find the spot. So I'm going in nice and slow. I'm going to find the spot where it's like, oh, that's enough. Right, so right at the edge, your hip might be further forward or further back. You just find your edge. And the edge doesn't mean, oh, I can't stand it anymore. The edge means, oh, I feel that. That's interesting. Stay right there. And you can put your arms up if you want to, or wrap them behind your back if you'd like that. We're going to take one more breath here. Now we're going to straighten out this front leg, and as I am going here, I'm going to fold over my leg first, and then I'm going to see how far back can I straighten it out, keeping myself relatively snugly. So the blocks can come in handy here as well, if you happen to have them. If you don't sweat it. And then you can fold over this leg. Now, if you are looser in your hamstrings, and when you fold over your leg like this, your forehead is easily touching your shin bone, and you can, there's no way that you can feel a hamstring stretch here. You can start to drift your leg a little further out in front of you so you come closer to a splits. I would recommend that unless you are in that position where you don't really feel anything, be cautious with the splits. It can be tricky to get out of, and it can cause damage. So we got 2 more breaths here with our half splits or our full splits. All right, so then we're going to ease the weight forward far enough that we can take that leg out to the side, give it a little shake out, and then bring it down. Now, you want to throw in a vinyasa, take yourself back to plank, lower down, do your vinyasa, come back to down dog, and step the other leg forward. If you're more inclined to just jiggle around a little bit, do some cat shapes. And then you're going to step your left leg forward, or bring your left leg forward. Bring your right knee to the ground, or whichever is the other side for you. If you did the left one first, that's also fine. All right, so we're going to ease the hip forward and ease the hip back. So we're just exploring this range of motion on the front of this hip. And there might be tension or tightness there that you're not used to having there. We're looking at, like we're talking about or exploring an area that's a fight or flight muscles area. And sometimes when life gets stressful, we feel more sensation or more sensitivity here than others. And so you're going to bring the hip forward. We're going to pause where that is. You might rest your arms. You might bring them up over your head. You might wrap them behind your back. I like to have one hand on the knee and one hand on the hip, just so I can kind of stay present for the stretch with the hip, and it helps me also, reminds me to kind of pick the front of my pelvis up with my core a little bit. I'm breathing. 2 more big breaths. It might be a little wobbly. And then we're going to send the hip back. Ooh, see if we can fold over that leg. And again, you might wind up easing that leg a little forward because you're not really getting a hamstring stretch with this movement. I am, so I shall stay. Nice deep breaths. All right, yogis, take a big inhale. Now, we're going to come down onto the, into a seated position. So you can come back to all fours to do that, or you could just sit down on that one side and then swing your legs around. So we're going to give the legs a little shake. We're going to do one forward bend. So you have to decide which one you want to do. Do you want to do the feet together and fold over like a butterfly? Would you rather have the legs out wide? Or have we done enough of that shape? Would you rather have the legs closer together and you fold forward? Okay. The butterfly was the one that felt most interesting to me. The last one second. Second in line. So you're just feeling it out for you. And the reason I like forward bends is because they kind of bring me into a more calm space. They kind of bring me more inward. So I let the back round when I want to emphasize that. And if I want to sort of modify that, where I want to stay slightly more present, slightly more outward with my energy, then I might lift my heart up and keep that reaching forward and my back long. They're just different approaches to the same pose. Sometimes we don't get a choice. Sometimes our body says, nope, there's only one option. And that's okay too. And you can just think about it more in terms of how you align your head with your spine. We're going to do 2 more breaths. And so now you can come up and choose to do your final relaxation as a meditation posture. So you could leave the legs where they are and just sit. Or if you'd like, you can lie down on your back and we'll do Shavasana as a meditation posture. The other option, if you have a block handy or you have a chair or something handy that you can swing your legs up on, is you can do a little inversion here. So I'm going to use a block. And I'm going to lie down on my back. I'm going to turn sideways so you'll be able to see. And I'm going to slip this block underneath my hips. And I just need 4 inches of block to really be able to create this thing. Some of you might, because that's enough back bend for me. Like my whole spine except for my shoulder blades is off, and my pelvis where it's resting on the block is off the ground. So I don't need more. But for some of you, you might need a little more height. And then you can do this pose where you bring one leg up and then the other and balance them right on the top of the block. And this is a nice inversion. It's simple in terms of the structure of it. We're not getting too complicated. It's not too much weight on the neck because we're resting the pelvis on the block. And if you keep your legs mostly shifted over the block, you get bonus core work. In case you like bonus core work. And of course you can stay with the meditation posture or you can just lie down here. It's a lunch break class, so you may not want to get too relaxed. It might tempt you into a nap, which I imagine is not particularly productive. Later though. And it just feels nice to me to kind of switch the direction of my blood flow and lymph. It's not really, it's just emphasizing a little easier on the return to the heart than normal is all. It's still pumping the normal way. Just letting gravity help me out. So we'll stay here for about another, let's say 3 breaths. Now, if you're doing the meditation posture, you can just pause for a moment and you can open your eyes just a tiny bit. If your eyes have been open the whole time, then you could just soften your gaze. If you're doing this inversion with me, bring your feet to the ground and get your block out from under you. And if you're doing Shavasana, you can join me here. Just bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little back massage on your sacrum or wherever the block was if you were doing that version. And then we're going to join the people that stayed seated and send each other on to do our lunch. So thanks for joining me for a little lunch break vinyasa. And thanks for your patience while I got everything hooked up. Namaste, yogis. Enjoy the rest.